Wow, what a great way to kick off the Advent season. You can see it's Christmas here, John. It's Christmas. Thanks so much for teaching us and taking us through this, really starting us in Genesis. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I wrote down a couple of questions for you.
Okay, all right.
Are you ready for this?
Fire away.
I think it's going to be good. Your emphasis on God as provider was just really, really powerful. I really appreciate that. I think a lot of us need to hear that God will provide and is continuing to provide for us, for you, for me. Can you share maybe a personal experience when you felt God's provision in an unexpected way? I'm sure you have lots of those stories,
Lord.
but...
Yeah, I mean, I think of my wife and just the odds that I would have met her and how many people I know who are searching for that perfect person for them. I think about my kids right now my oldest is 17 and dating is on her mind. And, I'm thinking of all the guys that potentially she might.
Absolutely not.
And,
there is not a chance.
But I'm praying for them. I'm like, God, please, would you provide something amazing for them? Because I know at least what I've experienced personally is something so out of this world in terms of what God's given me.
Why do you feel Rebecca is God's provision and not just a girl you met?
Well, just the way that she challenges me, she pushes me, she encourages me in this ministry and life in general. There's nothing that's basic or blah about the relationship that I have with her. It's so, I don't know. I always say I'm just absolutely fortunate.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody who's with us today who doesn't really sense God's provision on their life much at all? Are they looking in the wrong place, or is it a matter of being patient, or?
No, I've had moments too where I'm in that same space. And so the first thing I would say is, I know where you've been, and it's tough. And this story in Genesis, Adam was the same thing. He was lonely. And so there was loneliness before there was companionship. And for all of us, there's pain, there's difficulty, there's challenge before we feel provision. And for me, a lot of it had to do with the story that I told myself about what was possible, about who God is. And that's why it was interesting for Adam to have this exchange with God where God was continually bringing things. Maybe they weren't the right thing every time, but it was just this exercise in God showing Adam, I actually do care what you experience. I do care what you feel. And so we're going to go through everything until that right thing. And it wasn't expected. He had no idea what was coming. And so...
it's good to be that expectant and anticipating what God's going to do.
And hope-filled. I've seen so many hope-filled people in my life. You go, man, you have nothing. You have every reason to be lonely. You have every reason to... And it's still but I know people I know who you are, God. And I know that you provide. And even in that, when I witness that fills me up. And it reminds me again and again that, God provides. I need your perspective. It changes mine. It shifts mine about who God is and what he's doing.
Hey, talk to me about you connecting the birth or Advent, the arrival of Jesus, back to Genesis. How do you think that understanding these Old Testament roots can deepen our appreciation of Christmas and the Christmas story?
Yeah, the reason why they connect so deeply is because, there's that thing that you can't help but do. When I tell myself I'm not going to eat popcorn tonight, then all of a sudden I get up and I go into the pantry and I pull out some popcorn and I pop it. And
is that your poison?
It's it's my poison. And then there I am again doing the thing that I said I wasn't going to do, but I just love it so much that no, this is a good nightcap. And it's the same with God from the beginning. It's God's going to do the thing he always does. He just can't help it. I'm going to create something really beautiful because I want to provide for you. I'm going to create a helper for you that's just right for you because I'm going to provide for you. I see that sin has entered in this world and I can see the brokenness, but you know what? I just can't help it. I'm going to provide for you. And so it connects to Christmas in this Advent season because it's just God doing his God thing. I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to send my son Jesus and he's going to come into this earth and do the thing that I've been doing from the beginning, providing.
I've not changed at all. I'm
not at all.
Keep doing.
Yeah.
And the idea of restoration through Jesus is really compelling. How do you see for you right now, how do you see that theme of restoration playing out in your community and maybe in your personal daily life?
There's interactions that I recently went out to coffee with this dad who is trying to build into his son's life right now. And what's really important to him is that more than his son knowing him as a coach or someone who is he wants his son to know him as like a dad. And I'm having so many conversations in my community where folks are asking, hey, John, would you want to start something where we can all meet together and like build into our relationships with our kids? And these are people that I've met, you know, coaching sports. And so like, I just get little bits of God, oh God, you're like building, restoring like things that are really important. Things that where people are coming to me. I mean, I didn't ask, hey, John, can we meet? Because I would love to do this. And so I'm seeing that in those spaces. I'm seeing that in the space of my own family. I'm seeing that in my own heart and the things that I struggle with in my own sin. And it's just again and again, like God is restoring everything that was broken in the garden, every area where, you know, we do the natural thing of turning in and being self-focused. God is helping us to like look out and how do we build each other up? And so in so many ways, that's what I'm experiencing.
So compelling.
Yeah.
And perhaps you too are filled with hope when you hear this message that with the coming of Jesus, there's now hope for restoration of the beautiful earth he created for us. You can find hope today that there's restoration of your relationships, restoration of inclusivity. What about restoration of dignity, your dignity, the people around you? Restoration from shame. Restoration for mutual flourishing, as you said, John. Restoring what was deceived. So be sure to come back for part 2 next time. See you then.